Shekinah Garner and Sarper Güven from 90-Day Fiancé disclose marital issues. This partnership has been anticipated for an extended period. Sarper Güven and Shekinah Garner premiered on television in Season 5 of 90-Day Fiancé. The other way. After developing romantic feelings during a trip to Turkey, Shekinah resolved to depart from Los Angeles to accompany him in his homeland. This significant advancement in their romance proceeded as anticipated. Ultimately, they had only been acquainted for a few months before cohabiting. The most significant obstacle during the season was Sarper's unsettling insistence for them to commence having children immediately. Nonetheless, the couple unexpectedly reappeared for Season 11 of 90-Day Fiancé. They wed and affirmed in the tell-all that they remain together. However, the two have unequivocally indicated that their marriage is precarious. Sarper and Shekinah recently appeared as guests on the Sarah Fraser Show. During the discussion, Sarper candidly addressed the imperfections in their relationship. "We are diligently striving for excellence. We encounter numerous challenges and fluctuations. However, we have affection for one another. I hope she reciprocates my feelings," he expressed on the June 25th episode. Shekinah contributed additional background regarding this significant relationship milestone. She elucidated the peculiar circumstance of their on-camera wedding occurring on a bed. "He had previously been married, and we believed we could coexist indefinitely, content together, without formal commitment. However, we were required to do so with the K-1 visa. It was an experience that frightened us both, and we felt most at ease in bed. It is the least intimidating location for us. We contemplated, why not mitigate the fear and conduct this in bed? Nonetheless, the evening in Istanbul was sweltering and tumultuous. The Bosphorus glimmered beneath the rosy evening, and within Shekinah Garner's leased apartment, a tempest was developing. Shekinah, attired in a flowing silk robe, gazed out the window with her arms crossed tightly. Her typically tranquil visage was marked by resolve. 2 cups of chilled Turkish tea rested on the coffee table before her, one designated for her and the other for Sarper. Sarper Güven, her charming Turkish boyfriend, had just entered, his workout bag draped over his shoulder. He grinned nonchalantly, as like nothing was amiss. "Hello, darling," he remarked, inclining towards her for a kiss. However, Shekinah averted her gaze. He hesitated. "Is there an issue?" She rotated gradually. "Take a seat, Sarper. We must converse." Since Shekinah relocated to Istanbul to join Sarper, circumstances have been challenging. Initially, their fervor radiated intensely, a whirlwind affair reminiscent of reality television fantasies. However, fissures quickly emerged. Sarper continued to model, maintained a rigorous workout regimen of 3 sessions daily, and received direct messages from former romantic interests. Moreover, he continued to adhere to his regulations. Shekinah could never don low-cut shirts in public. She was anticipated to provide continual updates. He disapproved of her going out without his company. She discovered that he had rendezvoused with his ex, merely to reconnect. It constituted the ultimate provocation. "Sarper," Shekinah continued, "I did not traverse the globe to be subjugated. I arrived here seeking love. For us. However, I refuse to relinquish my independence, my voice, or my dignity only to sustain this relationship." Sarper appeared astonished. "What are you asserting?" "I am presenting you with a choice," Shekinah stated assertively. "You must either begin to regard me as an equal, or I will return to Los Angeles." Isolated. Sarper inclined his body forward, his demeanor grave. "Do you believe I do not love you?" "I am aware of your affection for me, Sarper. However, love alone is insufficient. Affection devoid of respect equates to mere domination. I refuse to be your doll." The room was enveloped in silence. For the first time, Sarper lacked a retort. He gazed at the tea, then at her. "What do you desire from me, Shekinah?" She advanced nearer. "I desire to reside here with you, but as my authentic self. I desire to engage in employment, don my preferred attire, and socialize with my pals. Eliminate double standards. I desire transparency. Complete, excruciating, genuine candor. What if I am unable to provide that?" She released a breath. I will take the next available flight. Sarper rose gradually, approached the window, and gazed at the Bosphorus as the initial stars began to emerge. He turned around, his gaze more gentle than previously. I have never altered my behavior for anyone in my life, Shekinah. However, if I were to lose you, perhaps it is time I began. A solitary tear cascaded down Shekinah's cheek. Nonetheless, it was a sunlit afternoon in Istanbul. The city thrummed with its customary cadence, vehicles honking, the call to prayer resonating in the distance, and visitors congregating in the streets of Sultanahmet. Sarper Güven was conducting a walking tour for Shekinah Garner, keen to reveal to her an often overlooked aspect of Turkey. Today's excursion included an unforeseen visitor, Dan, a longtime acquaintance of Shekinah from Los Angeles, who was traveling in Europe and chose to visit Istanbul merely to reconnect. Sarper was displeased when Shekinah referenced Dan's arrival. Is this Dan? Sarper inquired the previous night, eyebrows up. Merely an acquaintance? Affirmative, Sarper. He is homosexual, she informed him. Completely innocuous. You will find him agreeable. What Shekinah was unaware of was that Dan had recently begun to identify as pansexual. Moreover, he had consistently had a discreet infatuation for her, one he never had the audacity to pursue. However, observing her now, vibrant, radiant, and profoundly engaged in a fervent international romance, something within Dan shattered. They convened at a rooftop cafe with a view of the Bosphorus. Dan arrived wearing large sunglasses, a white linen shirt, and a radiant smile. Shekinah, dear, he said, enveloping her in an extended embrace. You appear exceptionally stunning. Sarper rose, courteously nodding, extending his hand. Greetings.
Sharper.
Dan, he responded, scarcely recognizing the handshake. Thus, this is the enigmatic Turkish gentleman for whom you abandoned your entire existence. His tone exhibited a sharpness. Shekinah chuckled anxiously. Upon taking their seats, Dan commenced delivering understated barbs. Shekinah, recall that occasion in Malibu when we became so inebriated that we nearly kissed on the beach? Divine being, had circumstances unfolded differently? Sarper tensed. Did you nearly kiss? He inquired, directing his attention to Shekinah. Shekinah dismissed it. He is embellishing. It was insignificant. However, Dan was not finished. He inclined nearer to Shekinah, gently sweeping a stray curl from her visage. I have consistently asserted that you merit a partner who allows you to radiate, rather than one who seeks to stifle your brilliance. That accomplished the objective. Sarper abruptly rose, his tone frigid. Dan, I believe you have expressed sufficient commentary. Dan grinned with composure. I am merely expressing my honesty. Isn't that characteristic of Americans? In Turkey, Sarper responded, we likewise prioritize respect. A profound stillness enveloped the table. Shekinah gazed between them, her heart racing. She had never witnessed Sarper so distressed in public before to this occasion. However, she was aware that Dan was deliberately overstepping boundaries. Subsequently, while returning to their flat, Sarper confronted her. What prompted you to bring him here? He inquired, pacing. He is not homosexual. He harbors romantic feelings for you. He gazes at you in the same manner that I do. Sarper, she said softly, I was unaware that he still harbored feelings. I affirm. He halted, gazing at her with profound intensity. You are my partner. I advocate for you. However, I shall not divulge your affections. Shekinah grasped his hands. It is not necessary for you to do so. It has perpetually belonged to you. The following day, Shekinah saw Dan in private. She asserted with both firmness and kindness that their friendship required modification. She was devoted to Sarper. She need limitations. Dan ultimately comprehended. As he traversed the bustling streets of Istanbul, he felt compelled to glance back, contemplating what may have transpired. On the rooftop, Sarper and Shekinah observed the sunset in solitude, her head resting on his shoulder. No verbal communication was necessary. Occasionally, love is most profoundly expressed in our decisions to depart. Occasionally, minor rooftop conflicts serve as the crucible that solidifies an enduring friendship. Nevertheless, the morning sun had just begun to illuminate the roofs of Istanbul as Shekinah awoke solitary in the flat. The hush was oppressive, excessively so. Sarper had not returned home the previous night. Once more, their formerly fervent romance had devolved into an emotional conflict characterized by misunderstandings, trust deficits, and cultural discord undermining its foundation. The honeymoon phase concluded, and reality intruded like an unwelcome visitor. Shekinah perched on the bed's edge, gazing at the phone in her grasp. No communication received yet. No apology has been issued yet. The altercation the previous night had been the most severe to date. "I sacrificed my entire existence to be here, Sarp," Shekinah shouted, her voice faltering. "I abandoned my daughter, my enterprise, my family, for you." Sarper, positioned at the window with arms crossed, responded icily. "You were aware of what you were relinquishing. I did not request your presence here. You implored me to. You expressed a desire for a future with me. However, you now regard me as a liability. I regard you as an individual who is unwilling to adapt to any aspect of my life." Sarper retorted. "You desire everything to be conducted according to your preferences." Shekinah's eyes brimmed with tears. "My sole desire was your affection. Now, I perceive that I am slumbering beside an unfamiliar individual." Sarper remained unresponsive. He simply seized his coat and exited through the door. Time elapsed. Shekinah traversed the streets of Istanbul, disoriented and despondent. She sat on a bench adjacent to the Bosphorus, observing the passage of vessels. The wind pierced her face, yet it could not rival the pain in her chest. Unexpectedly, her phone vibrated. A communication from Sarper. "We must converse. Convene with me at the location of our initial tea gathering." Apprehensively, Shekinah approached the charming cafe by the sea where they had before laughed and exchanged aspirations. Sarper was present, gazing at the ocean. Upon their eyes meeting, neither uttered a word for an instant. "I apologize," he eventually stated. "I erred in departing." Shekinah suppressed the lump in her throat. "I was also mistaken. I arrived with the expectation that you would change, rather than focusing on our mutual growth." Quietude. Sarper retrieved a little velvet box from his coat pocket. "I wish to cease the conflict," he stated gently. "However, I do not wish to continue feigning that we are well, if we are not. May I inquire whether we may commence anew?" Derived from honesty. Originating from genuine affection. No delusions. Shekinah gazed at the box. Inside was not a ring, but a locket. Within the locket was an image of her and her daughter. An act of signaling or expressing anything nonverbally. A commitment he was ultimately prepared to attempt. Shekinah wept while nodding. "Exclusively if we collaborate as partners. Is equivalent to." Sarper extended his hand, and for the first time in weeks, she grasped it. "Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Amelia. I hope your day is going well. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.